Uncut Gems has had a big release in the US via A24 and is coming out on Netflix basically everywhere else very soon, but it's currently on a very limited release in the UK, so I finally got to see a Safdie film on the big screen. And what a treat it was. The hype is real, forget the Oscars. Uncut Gems is one of the most gut-wrenching, nail-biting thrillers in recent times, as well as a very clever and very funny character comedy. Howard Ratner is a jeweler working in New York. With a string of celebrities wearing his horrible bedazzled jewellery, Howard is comfortably well off. But it's not enough. He wants more and has bet everything on a huge uncut gem, a black opal smuggled to him by Ethiopian miners. He thinks he can sell it for a great profit, but he hasn't bargained on Kevin Garnett, Boston Celtics player, deciding it's his new good luck charm. That interaction sets off a chain of catastrophic events. Writer-directors Josh and Benny Safdie, known as the Safdie brothers, are rising at a rate of knots. It's hard to think that just a few movies back, they were doing guerrilla DIY stuff on the streets of New York, and now they've graduated to, well, sort of the same, but with a much glossier look and actors you actually know. If you're interested in finding out more about their films, you can see Good Time starring Robert Pattinson on Netflix currently. I also made a video for Little White Lies about it, which I will link in the description. Uncut Gems is very much in line with their previous work. At its heart, it's really a comedy, albeit a very tragic one. Everything that goes wrong for Howard is his own fault, and he consistently screws things up for himself. Indeed, unlike most thrillers, you're really on the edge of your seat because you're hoping that the protagonist won't make things worse for himself. Howard will make sudden decisions that seem almost inexplicable, yet make sense for his character in retrospect. It's clever and deep character writing that's aided by a fantastic performance from Sandler. He constantly wears this cheap, meaningless grin. He's childish, he lies through his teeth, and he feels hard done by despite his wealth. He repeats the same phrases like a tick, his loyalties are unclear all the time, and he doesn't seem to care about anyone. Throughout the film, it feels like Howard is making decisions, realizing things about himself, just as he goes along. He's the ultimate impulsive character, and he's compelled by this deep need not just to survive, but to win, to prove himself better than others. And the biggest joke of the movie is that Howard fucking sucks. No one likes him, not even his own wife, and especially not himself. He's a total failure of a human being, almost bereft of positive characteristics, and yet is incredibly compelling to watch because you have no idea how far he will push things, push himself. Now, the secret to making a plot like this work and making the audience want to watch someone as repulsive as Howard is the film craft, the aesthetic approach being used. The Safdies films are intense, all capitals all the time. Their camera is always tight on faces, almost always moving. If there's a wide, it'll be far back and above the characters, looking down on them like all of their suffering is predetermined. And the sound is always rising. You're watching a scene struggling to track the 2 or 3 people speaking, often about different topics, and suddenly a phone will ring and a door will buzz and another person will start yelling. A man pours Gatorade in the fish tank just to get someone's attention, and all you can see on screen is a harried man clearly about to break while smiling a very fake smile. There's no doubt about it, it's a lot, and it's divisive as a style, but watching it, I can't help but think the Safdies are amongst the first filmmakers to really understand the 21st century and show it on screen. Howard is besieged by information, he's surrounded by TV screens and phones and texts, and yet he's totally unable to communicate. In a rare, quiet moment, he hides in his mistress's apartment and sends her some sext messages, then watches her reaction. And that's how Howard sees himself in his interactions with the world and his displays of wealth or power. His world only makes sense through the hustle, and he really sees himself as a little man punching up. But to anyone who sees his beautiful house and his family, who admittedly he's screwed his relationships with, his life just seems like a missed opportunity for happiness. And this resonance with real life is amplified by a number of clever conceits that place Uncut Gems squarely in our world, not least of which, of course, is the presence of Kevin Garnett and the key plot-critical role a number of real-life basketball games from the 2012 NBA season play in the film. But that's the world in which Howard thrives. He's a man who cannot stop talking, whose trade is in bedazzled Furbies and Michael Jackson crucifixes, these meaningless symbols of wealth that exist purely for show. It's clear from one of the film's opening moments, where the camera flies through a galaxy-like space within the Uncut Gem, only to slowly zoom out of Howard's colonoscopy footage. For all the wonder and magic in the world, we literally begin the film up Howard's arse. I'm almost done. I'm winding up the review, I promise, but I want to give you something to chew on. When I was doing the research for the Little White Lies video, I found a quote about the Safdie brothers' first film, The Pleasure of Being Robbed. It's from a slant review by a writer called Nick Shager. He said that the film was a preeminent example of what happens when filmmaking tools become accessible to people with nothing to say. I think he's kind of right. In a sense, what the Safdies are saying about the 21st century is precisely that. For a lot of people, there is nothing to say, no sense at all to make of life. Shager said that if the filmmakers are the future of American independent film, then perhaps consideration should be given to blowing the whole thing up. And I think that's exactly what the Safdie brothers have done, albeit not quite in the way that Shager would have thought. That's it from me, but as ever, I'd love to find out what you thought about Uncut Gems. I know it hasn't had that wider release in the UK yet. In fact, it's been really a criminally small release, and it's the kind of film you would hope would go out in cinemas in a wider way, but such is life. As long as the cinema chains keep resisting Netflix and Amazon, then that's going to continue to be the case. But anyway, I will be monitoring these comments when the film is on Netflix as well, so let's have a conversation about Uncut Gems, one of the most interesting and cool, I think, movies that I've seen in recent times. Have a good one. Bye for now.